Hi, I'm Brittany from Keto Hughes, and today I'm going to do some meal prepping. It's a really busy week, and this will help me later on. I've already done my fridge and freezer inventory and created my meal plan for the week. We eat 2 meals a day, so I'm prepping for what I'm going to need over the next few days. This is our first meal prep video, so please let us know what you think in the comments below. In this meal prep session, I'm going to make a pork roast for some barbecue pulled pork. I'm going to process some chicken breasts. I'm going to make a meat sauce. I'm going to make up a batch of pork panko, grate up some Parmesan cheese, prep some broccoli, and bake up some bacon. So let's get started. So for our pork roast, I am starting with a pork shoulder Boston butt is what Publix calls it. And when they have them on sale, I get a bunch of them and stick them in the freezer. So I defrosted this one. And this one in particular has the bone in it. But I make my own rub to spread on it before I put it in the crock pot. And so in this container, I have salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, smoked paprika, brown sugar swerve, and some of this bone sucking sauce. It's basically a steak seasoning, so the steak seasoning of your choice. And if you don't like those spices, you can change it to what you like. So I'm gonna stir it up, and I use roughly either a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of each one of those. This is yummy stuff. So if your pork roast has a fat cap on it, you want this on the top so that as it melts, the flavor and the fat can go into the meat. So I do this side with seasoning last so that I can get the most on there. Yum, it smells so good. We don't have smell-o-vision, but if we did, you would like the way it smells. So I'm gonna put this in the crock pot on low and cook it for 6 to 8 hours. So I'm gonna wash my hands, put the lid on, and just let it be. So one of the things that we're gonna eat this week is butter chicken. And my favorite thing is when Publix does a buy one, get one free, because it makes boneless, skinless chicken breast so much cheaper. So I got 4 pounds of chicken meat for less than $10. So I'm gonna process it all at once and freeze what I don't need. But the first thing that I need is chicken cubes for the butter chicken that I'm gonna do later this week. So because each package is roughly 2 pounds, I'm gonna use half. And this one just has 2 really big, it must have been a really big chicken. I have breasts that big, holy crap. Anyway, I'm gonna cube it. I have some of these plastic cutting boards, and I have labeled this one raw meat. So the only thing that I've ever cut on this one is raw. I have one for cooked meat, and then the other 2 are for vegetables. My sister and her family are vegetarian, and that way I know for sure when they're coming for dinner or when I'm doing food prep for them that I'm not cross-contaminating. If you like bigger chunks of chicken, you can certainly make bigger chunks of chicken. I'm not fussy. So one of the things that we really like in our family is marinated baked chicken breasts. And so with this other package of chicken, I'm gonna cut them in half. So I'll have 6 halves and put 3 in each bag for the marinade. And I'm gonna use a pre-done Italian dressing. You could make your own with olive oil or avocado oil, lemon, and some Italian seasonings. I just like the ease factor, and this is delicious. It's got lots of garlic in it. So they can be marinating while they're in the freezer. And I'm just gonna check it, make sure there's enough in each one. Yeah, that looks great. And I can shake that around a little bit to make sure that everything gets nice and covered. And I can even freeze it flat for more freezer space. These are freezer Ziploc baggies, by the way. So this is our 4 pounds of chicken completely processed. This is the chicken that I need for the butter chicken this week, and the rest of this I'm gonna freeze. This is for butter chicken another time, and this is our marinated chicken breasts that are whole. Okay, so now we're gonna start the meat sauce, and you know how the internet can be quite the temptation. Y'all have been talking about the palminis, and I got the ones that are the linguine size noodles. So the reason that we're doing this sauce is we're gonna try this out, and we'll let you know what we think. We tried those mushroom noodles. I can't remember the exact name, but they were chewy and yucky, and so we're hoping that this is a closer substitute for pasta. And I do zoodles, and we do like zoodles, but sometimes it's nice to have something that's a little bit closer to pasta. So in the pan, I'm gonna brown some onions, and a tip that I have for you guys is when you're chopping onions, if you have more than you need, throw them in a baggie in the freezer, and then they're available for you the next time that you need them. So I don't actually have to cut a fresh onion right now because I've got plenty. So I'm gonna add, I'm choosing avocado oil, but you could add some ghee or some lard or even butter. And this pan has been going for a bit, so I'm gonna add the onions first. I like to make sure that the onions get cooked before I put the ground beef in, but if that's not your preference, you don't have to do it that way. Oh, smell it. So for this recipe, I am using 1 pound of local grass-fed beef, and so I think that this is plenty of onion for that. You could adjust your amount based on your tastes. And for this sauce, I'm gonna use actually canned tomato sauce that doesn't have any seasonings in it, and I'm gonna add my own things to make it my own. And so in this spice mix, there's salt and pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. And after I taste it, after it's simmered for a bit, if I need more or less of something, I'll add more. So the onions have started to brown, so I'm gonna add the beef to it. And this package doesn't have the easy open, so I'm gonna have to actually cut it. And I didn't do a great job of that. And so I'm going to start to break it up in the pan. And this is going to take about 5 to 7 minutes to brown. And I'll continue to break it up as it does that. I know some of you have that fancy Pampered Chef tool that does the meat cutting up, but this works too. So the ground beef and onions have finished cooking, and I drained off the grease, and now I'm going to start with 2 cans just to see if that's enough sauce in here. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be plenty. And I'm going to add my spice blend. And I'm going to stir it up really good. I believe that the best sauce are the ones that have simmered on the stove for a while. So I'm actually going to simmer this for an hour or 2 with the lid on. And that's really going to bring up the flavors. And then I'll taste it and see if any of the seasonings need adjusted. Oh, that looks so good. All right. So this week on the menu is pork chops, and I really like to bread them in pork rinds. And my little pantry container for pork panko is completely empty. So we're going to make up some. And this container of pork rinds came from Sam's Club. I know that lots of places you can get pork rinds. And if you don't have a Vitamix, you could use a food processor. You can also put them in a baggie and just smash them. But they're absolutely delicious. And it's less expensive to do it this way than to buy the pre-made pork panko. So I like to fill it about half to 2/3 full at a time and blend and add it. Because if you fill it all the way to the top, for some reason, it's a little more challenging to get it to blend. Because this container is so full, I'm just gonna put them in by hand and then I'll pour as we progress. All right, so that looks good. And I am starting on like a medium-low setting. And that's perfect. Yeah. Sometimes they get stuck in there in the bottom and you gotta give it a little shake. Or a little stir. There we go. All right. Got to get those little ones that got away. Perfect. And since we don't have smell-o-vision, you can't smell it, but it smells incredible in here. All right, I'm gonna make a little bit more since we're here and we're at it. Perfect. So we used what, maybe a third of the container, and I'll get a couple of meals out of this before I'll have to do it again. It's great on chicken, it's great on pork, and we have done it on tilapia fillets as well. Talk about adding flavor to your fish. All right. I dropped the lid. So we'll just get the lid on here and get it back in the pantry. So one of the things that I find with buying Parmesan whole like this is that if I don't take some time and grate some of it, then I don't use it, or I don't want to pull it out and use it at the time. And I'm going to make cauliflower mash this week, and I really like adding some grated Parmesan to it. So I'm just going to take the time and shred it now and add it to a little container so that it's ready and set to go when it's time for me to do that. I like the fine grater. It gives it a really nice texture and consistency, and I've put it on a piece of parchment paper to make it really easy for me to fold and pour into my little container. For those that are doing a really strict carb count, when you grate your own cheese, there's less carbs in it. Sometimes the fillers that they use to make it so that it doesn't stick together in like your shredded cheeses. So this will, that's not necessarily our concern. I just think this is really beautiful. It melts beautifully. It smells good. Oh, it's so much better than the can. All right, so that feels like enough Parmesan for my cauliflower mash. So I'm gonna get it in the container and get it in the fridge. Perfect. Wow. These are not the easiest of containers to close, but I got 3 of the 4 shut, so that'll do. So one of the things that I really like to do each week is to cook a pound of bacon, and I have it on 2 different trays, and I have parchment paper, and I'm gonna flip it halfway through. But what I'm gonna do is one of the trays I'm gonna cook all the way done so that I have it for salad toppings, for BLTs, for things like that. And the other tray I'm gonna slightly undercook so that if I wanna serve hot bacon at some point, I just throw it in a pan and bring it up to temperature and finish it off. So I have a preheated oven at 400. I'm gonna put 1 tray on top, 1 on the bottom, and halfway through I'm gonna take it out, flip the bacon over, and then reverse the order in the oven. I know that was a lot, but it's great fun. So we really like broccoli especially roasted broccoli as a side in our family. So this is a couple heads of broccoli that I'm gonna chop up and put them in the salad spinner with some water and lemon juice and let them get nice and cleaned up, and then I'll spin them out dry, and then they're all ready for me when I'm ready to roast them. So now that the broccoli is chopped up, I'm gonna add water to it so I can give it some time to get washed up. And then I'm gonna add lemon juice. You could add vinegar, you can add, your vegetable cleaner of choice. And then I'm just gonna dunk it a little bit to make sure that everybody got some lemon. All right, so that pool party's going. So this is our pork roast after 4 hours. It's not done yet, but oh my goodness, if you could smell it. And doesn't that look divine? Oh, I can't wait to shred that up for tonight's dinner. So the timer just went off on the 10 minutes, so we're gonna check it. I gotta back up a little bit because it fogs my glasses. I'm gonna put this one here because it's gonna now go on the bottom instead of the top. And I'm gonna put this one over here, and I'm gonna flip the bacon before I put them back in. It gets crispier, they cook through better. You need some tongs. This is the best way to do this. I used to make bacon on a slotted tray so that the air could circulate, but it cooks faster and gets crispier if you let it sit in the fat as it burns off. It smells so good. So as you can see, the tray that was on the bottom is a little bit more cooked, and I'm gonna put that back in on the top. I'm gonna set the next timer for only 5 minutes because I want one of my 2 trays to not be cooked all the way through. But let me get this in first. So this is gonna go on the top. This one's gonna go on the bottom. And we're gonna set it for 5 minutes. So it's been about 10-12 minutes, so the broccoli's been soaking. I'm gonna lift the inner basket out so that I can drain off the water before I spin it. And I'm just gonna pour this down the sink. And we're gonna spin. I'll do a little bit more. Oh, that looks great. Nice and dry. So I have a refrigerated container that has a bottom that lifts it up a little bit more. If you didn't have that, you could put a paper towel down just in case there's any moisture left that didn't come out. And so now this is completely ready when it's time for me to roast vegetables. Pop a lid on it, pop it in the fridge. Okay, so it's about 7 hours later and I took the pork roast out about 20 minutes ago so it would cool off enough that I can handle it. I'm gonna take the bone out because there's a great big bone in there. And when it's cooked properly, I mean, look how easily that comes out. Ooh, that's still really hot. We're gonna go with it anyway. If the fat bothers you, you can take that off. Some people in my family like that still, so we're gonna leave some of that. So this is all shreddable, and I'm gonna put it back in this bowl, and I'm gonna actually shred it in the crock pot because that's where all the incredible meat juices are. And then when I serve it, you can add some barbecue sauce to it, or it's actually seasoned so incredibly well and so delicious with that rub and the pan juices that you don't actually really need it. I'm gonna take 2 forks and begin to shred the meat that's in here. It's so soft and tender that it's not giving me any resistance whatsoever. And I really like the flavor when you mix it back in with the juices from the crock pot. So that wraps up our very first meal prep. Thank you so much for watching. We'd love to know what you thought in the comments below. And if you like our channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Hi, it's Dad. Also, the videographer and the teleprompter operator and all of the...
And the taste tester.
Oh yeah, the taste tester. Mwah.